Something that's quite common is you might create a whiteboard that you want to use to start a discussion. You're going to write all over the whiteboard, you're going to move things around, add elements to it, do all the cool things that you've learned in this course so far. But then you want to be able to use that initial whiteboard as a template for another session, another discussion, another class. So you can see here that in the Whiteboard app, I've created 4 new whiteboards. I've created database concepts, data architecture, destination maps, and hiking equipment. And what I want to do is I want to use these whiteboards that I've created as the starting point for a discussion. So what I want to do is go into my OneDrive, and I can do this either through the web interface or if I have OneDrive synchronized with my computer on my computer file system. And when I go into Whiteboards, I'm going to create some new folders. So I'm going to create a new folder, and maybe this will be the name of my class. So this is going to be Database Concepts, and I'm going to have a class called Database Concepts. And underneath the database concepts, I can even change the color of the folder. So maybe we'll make it gray for databases, and I'll create that folder. So now you can see I have my database concepts. And now I'm going to take my data architecture and my database concepts whiteboard, and I'm going to, instead of moving them to that folder, although I certainly could, I'm going to go in and I'm going to copy them to that folder. So I'm going to make copies of those whiteboards, and I'm going to put them into the database concepts. And now I have those whiteboards as copies in the database concepts folder. I still have them here at my root, and of course I could move them around. And maybe what I want to do here is I could even go into this folder here and I could rename them. So I could rename them and maybe put them as template files. So a lot of times I'll put underscore template, or I'll put a dash. Underscore is better for me. Underscore template. And that way I can see that this is a template for this particular course. Then what I can do is I'll go into it. So this is the data architecture. So I'll go into data architecture, and maybe then I'll start my lecture, and we'll, use the whiteboard either in person or remotely. I'll go in, I'll make a bunch of changes on here. I'll say this is the this and that's the that, and whatever I'm going to do with the whiteboard, I'm just marking this up so that we have something in place. And now I'm done with this whiteboard and I no longer want it. So what I can now do with the data architectures that I've made all the changes to is class is over. I can delete that whiteboard, and now data architectures is gone. But I can take on my OneDrive, my template for data architectures, and I can make a copy of it and move that back to the root of the whiteboard. So now when I move that back to my files, over to the whiteboards, I can copy it in there. So now data, the template's in there if I go to whiteboards. And now it's no longer the template because that's stored in this folder. So underneath here, I can make sure that I take this template, and maybe I want to rename it to something like session 2. So this is my second session. So session 2 of data architectures, rename it. And now I have that whiteboard. So I can go in, again, it's going to be alphabetical. I can look at the whiteboard online. You can see here that this whiteboard is going to have none of my scribbles on it. That's what I wanted. I'll go back to my app, hit F5 to refresh, and now my data architectures is going to be the copy that I brought in and renamed. And you can see that when I open the whiteboard, I now can use this for my second session. So that's a great way to move and copy whiteboards and rename them in order to use them as templates. And then of course here in OneDrive, one of the things that I'll want to do is make sure that these folders or anything in this folder is marked as a template, so I know that I'm never going to open or use those whiteboards by mistake. And I want to make sure that I'm always copying and not moving, so that I always have copies of my clean conversation or class starter whiteboards. So that's how we can make our own template files in Microsoft Whiteboard.